In the 1994 classic film The Shawshank Redemption, prisoners are strongly encouraged by their warden to embrace Christianity. In the hit Netflix series Orange is the New Black, prison is shown as a place where religion is a constant and the chapel is a staple of life, even under the state-run banner. Tanya Erzen, a professor of religion at the University of Puget Sound and author of God in Captivity, The Rise of Faith-Based Prison Ministries in the Age of Mass Incarceration, says these portrayals are rooted in reality. She says the role of religion in American prison has been a constant from the beginning.
Prisons have always been religious, and I think some people know that history and others don't, but the first prisons in our country were called penitentiaries. Some prisons still have that term, but in Pennsylvania and upstate New York, they were created by religious reformers who thought they would be more humane than what had been operating in most places in the U.S. until then, which was hanging people, banishing people, scaffold, and so forth. So they were believed that people would go to a penitentiary to become penitent. The Quakers, ironically, invented solitary confinement because in Eastern State Penitentiary, which is, near Philadelphia, they actually put people in individual cells, and they hoped that through prayer and reflection that they would recover their inner light and be transformed and no longer commit a criminal act.
Even though the country values the separation of church and state, Erzen says a vast majority of prisons still remain religious hotbeds of sorts.
About 94% of all prisons, state and federal in the U.S., have religious programming as a really central part of how they operate. So on any given day, they'll have local groups, which, depending on where they're located in the country, but generally tend to be almost 80% Christian, and I mean Protestant, non-denominational Christian, doing Bible studies, worship services, but also as states have been unable to fund programs in prisons, faith-based groups have taken over a lot of the functions that secular programs would have done.
According to Erzen, these Christian ministries can often be the only access prisoners have to certain services.
Very few places now offer college because Pell Grants were eliminated in '94, so over 300 college prison programs closed. Pell Grants were federal aid for low-income students, and they were given to prisoners as well. So what happens, say, in the Baptist seminaries, if you want an associate's degree or a BA degree, the only way to do it is to get that degree in Christian ministry. Or if you need mental health counseling in a prison that doesn't have enough money to pay and have good counselors there, or even a psychologist on staff, you'll go to the prison group that's there to talk about, dealing with anger management. And one example of a group in a faith-based prison was Anger by His Grace, May We Manage It, or something. I can't remember the exact title. You want those services, but the catch is that they're often provided by a group with a particular religious view and particular social views.
Over the course of researching her book, Erzen says she talked to countless prisoners about these systems. On one hand, many inmates are incredibly grateful for the organizations that empowered them behind bars.
People talk about it in various ways. They say, I would never have had the chance to go to college if I wasn't in this program, that it gives a sense of meaning to people who are serving long sentences, life or the equivalent, 50 years or more. Prison can be so dehumanizing in that people are often called by their last name. They're often called offender. They're called by their Department of Correction number. So to be in a space where you have a sense that the authority that you're under is that of God, not just the prison, is, I think, really powerful for a lot of people.
But on the other hand, many non-Christians told Erzen they don't believe the system was fair.
I talked to a man who identified as a Muslim and was in the Christian seminary program in Texas, and he said, I'm only doing this because I've grown up in prison. I've been here since I'm 17 years old. I'm now 34. I want to get an education because someday I want to get out. This is the only avenue I have. He said he felt constantly under, his beliefs and faith being questioned in a Christian program, but this was the only option he had.
In fact, Erzen says sometimes the Christianity in a prison was so overpowering that it became outright favoritism.
I was able to get to know, through the Soros Justice Fellows Network, 3 men who'd been incarcerated in Angola prison for 24, 28, and 44 years, respectively. So they're now all out and doing excellent work, but they were able to sort of tell me as a free person what it's like to live there. And they said, if you wanted anything done for yourself, you had to go to church, because on Sunday morning, the warden would come to church services and he would walk down the aisle. And all the men that needed something would write their request on a tiny piece of folded paper. So I need new dentures. I need new glasses. I need my job assignment changed. I need to have this person put on my visitation list. And as he walked down the aisle between the pews, they would slip him little pieces of paper. And by the end of the day, they knew that their request would be granted because they'd been there at church services with the warden.
Such favoritism obviously is frowned upon and can even be illegal. Erzen says there have been times where ministries overstepped their bounds and faced legal action.
A big case was that Prison Fellowship Ministry was running an entire dorm of an Iowa State prison, an entire wing of the prison. They called their program Inner Change, and it was an evangelical conversion program. And men who got into that program, they had their individual cells, they had their own TVs, they had better work release assignments, they often had a better chance with the parole board. And so they were sued by Americans United for the separation of church and state. And that case was appealed, but they ultimately lost, and the program had to pay back the state of Iowa, money because it was using state funds.
But for the most part, such organizations are careful to remain on the right side of the First Amendment. Erzen says that's why the ministries call themselves faith-based instead of declaring a religion or denomination.
Because that is the term that many groups call themselves, but it's very intentional because they can't say just a Christian ministry. These are state prisons. They have to at least show that they're being ecumenical, that this is about all faiths. But faith as a term is also a very much sort of a Christian term. And as I said, most of the ministries coming in are Christian.
And Erzen says it's important to remember that faith-based prison ministries can use their power to do a lot of good.
Before the recent election, there was a lot of bipartisan support for prison reform. You had people like Newt Gingrich and Paul Ryan talking about instituting reforms to let more people out of prison, to improve parole, to stop sending juveniles to prison. And a lot of that is because of the work of evangelical faith-based ministries who sort of convinced them that this was a financial issue and an issue of public safety.
In the end, Erzen says she hopes these ministries continue to push such initiatives to help reform the system.
I want people who go into prisons or people who are part of churches that have faith-based ministries to sort of ask themselves a question that a former prisoner told me to ask. Are you giving people the help they need or the help that you think they need? These people who are going in, they have so much daily contact with people in prison and with what prisons are like, more than most people on the outside, that they're the ones who could really powerfully start to say, why are so many people being sent to prison for life without the possibility of parole here? Why are women growing at such a fast rate? Why are they the fastest growing part of the prison population? How could we reform parole and sentencing so that it's more just?
To read more about the Christian ministries and their role on our prison system, you can find Tanya Erzen's book, God in Captivity, in bookstores now. For more information about all of our guests, visit our site at viewpointsonline.net. You can find archives of past programs there and on iTunes and Stitcher. I'm Gary Price.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-568-1647. That's 800-568-1647. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-568-1647.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it, you could junk it, or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-835-1478. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It will be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-835-1478. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher for donating. Call now, 1-800-835-1478. That's 1-800-835-1478.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Viewpoints is a production of Media Tracks Communications. You can follow us on Twitter and Facebook to learn about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on iTunes. Plus, you'll always find podcasts of our segments and information about our guests at viewpointsonline.net. Join us again next week for your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.